Hello everyone, it's Sarah Oblak Spiker here, and I am so excited to invite you into today's conversation. It is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and it's a journey I've been on for the past 8+ years as a mom, and it has brought up a lot of memories and a lot of experiences, and it's allowed me to really do this type of work with my own clients as I kept progressing through my own journey. So I wanted to share with you several things that I have learned and realized, and the insights that really have been game changers for me, for my clients, and especially for my family on my mission to really inspire intentional living. So as I mentioned in the description, full disclosure, I am not a medical professional. I am not a social worker. This is not a medical advice. But we will be touching on very personal subjects and on topics that oftentimes don't get discussed in public, particularly. In a recent conversation, I was entrusted by one of my dear clients about their situation, how on the outside, they're this amazing individual who has accomplished more than most people ever will. But behind the closed doors, in the privacy of their home, there is this space of insecurity, of deep hurt and pain, highly toxic relationship, and children that this individual is trying to shield and protect, because they realize that whatever is that they're experiencing is literally a mirror image of what they have been through. And as a child themselves, they know what they do not want to pass down to their own kids. So in our conversation, I remembered a lot of my own experiences as a parent, and therefore some of the most meaningful and life-changing advice and lessons that I have learned, that I passed on to this particular individual, and I'm gonna pass down to you, and you take what fits. If it resonates, amazing. If you have any additional questions, feel free to ask them. If it doesn't resonate, thank you. I appreciate you. You just you move on. It's like shifting through radio stations, right? If the music sounds great, you tune into. If it doesn't, you keep moving on. No offense taken. So like I said, about 8 years ago, over 8 years ago, I became a parent to a beautiful daughter. And as she was growing and as her personality started to come out, I started to realize how much is there that I needed to learn, obviously, as every new mother, right? And how big my aspirations were for her, and how big my dreams were for her. And also, as her sister joined her a couple of years after that, I started to notice how I went into this survival mode that brought up all the old patterns and all these subconscious commitments. And I had the choice to make. I had to choose to do something about it, which Dr. Shafali actually talks about it in her conscious parenting. The parenting is not so much about molding our kids than healing ourselves and healing our own inner child. And then there's another mentor of mine, Marcy Locke. At the time, she was raising her 2 growth partners, and one of the things that really resonated with me in her sharing her own story, and it might have been the light bulb that went on for me back then, was her beautiful expression of how every single child is their own whole, full individual being. and how we as parents, when we hold them so close to our hearts, when we just want to wrap them in a bubble wrap and put them under a glass dome and protect them from everything, we are literally robbing them from the experience, the very experience that they came here to create, the sacred contract that they came here to fulfill, and how it is one of the most profound lessons and learnings for us parents to learn how to step into the role of a guide and not the protector. So that has been kind of my guiding light, so to speak, in all these years as a parent, and seeing how our two kids have been evolving and becoming their own wholesome beings with their own personalities, with their own innate knowing, with their own divine connections, with their own divine downloads, open to share all of that. So when this particular individual in a recent conversation shared with me how they felt trapped in this toxic environment because they wanted to protect their kids, the first thing that came to my mind, and the invitation followed into conversation with them, was, are they really protecting them? Are they really protecting their kids, or are they simply modeling exactly the exact things they're trying to shield them from, which is insisting in a toxic environment, apologizing for the sake of keeping peace, not speaking out, not expressing themselves, simply to keep the peace, which just means that now they are evoking the inner rage, disconnect, misalignment, stepping out of the integrity and living out of the integrity with themselves, right? We have seen, I don't know if you have seen it, but there's this amazing meme image. It says, keeping peace with the external world just for the sake of keeping peace will start the inner war in yourself. And that's exactly what this person is going through. And they did not realize that what they were modeling for their kids was exactly the same thing that they were trying to shield them from, which was the fact that they are deserving of being heard, of being seen, of being felt, of having the voice, having the right to be fully expressed, having the right to be fully unconditionally loved, and keeping them in the environment when everything was conditioned, keeping them in an environment where everything was, there was no responsibilities taken, there was no accountability. Everywhere we're just pointing fingers. I forgot who it was who said that when you point one finger out, there's three pointing right back at you, right? But it's such a profound visual for what our ego mind oftentimes does in relationships, and I'm no stranger to it, because layers that I had to shed evolved me pointing fingers at my partners also. It involved me pointing fingers at the circumstances, and I had to learn how to take this radical responsibility and be with it all without assigning any judgment or any particular meaning, good or bad, to the experiences, but simply processing them, noticing that they're existing and processing them, seeing how my emotions are being evoked and simply processing them. What a lot of times happens for us parents, especially on our own journey to awakening, to our own journey to really creating this intentional living, which means that we are tapping in our own divinity, we're tapping into our own innate knowing. It's this in-between space between the old paradigms that we were indoctrinated into, the old parameters, the old ways to measure, the old ways to prove and to hustle and grind and sacrifice, even when it means that we are robbing ourselves of this dignity and alignment, and that we are going against the flow, against the innate knowing and this, we refuse to answer the calling of our heart, living out our truth. And then there's this space when we can see, observe, it's like out of body experience when you're like, wow, this is so much greater. And this is, I can see myself going against the grind. I can see myself going against the flow. I can feel myself being out of the integrity, but it's not tangible. It's not something that you're able to articulate. It's not something you're able to even put a reference to. It's something new, unknown. So there's this doubt that comes up, like, am I hallucinating? Is this even real? What is this? Can I even trust this place? And it's a part of everybody's journey who has been through that. And like I said, I have been through it too, and I'm so grateful for this experience because it allowed me to take a step back and start taking notice of what were some of the patterns that were coming up that started with particular triggers, and what was my thought process, and what was my not response but reaction to those triggers. And the more that I noticed, it almost became like this escalator, and I spoke about it in a couple of videos in the past. If you want to see them, let me know, I'll send you the link. This escalator, when you can see exactly where in this process you are, and you know exactly what's going to happen next. And this is it. This is where this consciousness comes in, when you can simply choose to break the pattern, and you're like, you know what, I'm not participating in this. I'm not available for this. Not anymore. This is how I choose instead. This is what I choose to respond with. This is what feels in alignment, and this is what feels congruent to what is it I am creating, congruent with the person that I am becoming, congruent with the person I am meant to be. So we start responding based on where is that we're going, as opposed to reacting based on where we came from. So let me say that again. In this space of consciousness, we start respond from the space of where is it that we're going and becoming, as opposed to reacting based on where we are coming from. This is especially important in my experience. This has been especially important for those of us who are high achievers, who have high accomplishments, who have built a level of success that to many people is simply feels out of reach. And the reason I say that is because in our process of doing so, that literally was our defense mechanism. That literally was our own way of proving our own worth and protecting our own core wounds. And the more that we created, the more that we achieved, the higher and better results we had, the more success we had created, the more we felt this security, sense of accomplishment, sense of belonging, sense of worth, and sense of worthiness. But all of that was literally this external wall and just surface based. And sooner or later, when I personally have started to peel back the layers, I had to learn how to be fully present with myself, how to fully trust myself, and how to see myself fully worthy, without any statistics, without any numbers, without any external results, without anybody else's external validation. And this external validation is something that, as we are yearning for, we typically start attracting people in our own life whose approval we so desperately need that we are willing to forgo all that we stand for. And just like this person who I spoke about earlier, remaining in this toxic relationship because they felt the need to prove themselves, they felt the need to earn the love and respect, they felt that they were only worthy if they're able to save the other person who is not available to be saved to begin with, much less to save themselves. And in the process of doing so as a parent, they were now modeling to their own kids the same toxic environment, settling, creating those toxic expectations that they were trying to shield them from it to begin with. There was also this, when I mentioned the paradigms we were indoctrinated into, as a mom, I can say for myself, it was what a good mom looks like, how a good mom behaves, how does she speak, how does she conduct herself, is she outspoken, is she somebody who goes after her dreams, or is she the one who self-sacrifices and literally works herself to the ground in order to support everybody else, in order to put everybody else's happiness above her own, in order to put everybody else's well-being above her own. That was the model that had been modeled to me, and that was the paradigm I was indoctrinated into until my life literally depended on a choice that I had to make, to choose differently, to heal myself, and to realize that, hey, I cannot be here for my kids if I am empty, if I'm just a shadow of myself, if I'm exhausted, if I'm irritated, if I'm being triggered left and right. I cannot possibly be here for my kids, especially the kids who are highly intuitive, who are, if we were to assign labels, it would be crystal children. This is the new generation of what it used to be known as indigo child. So I literally had to take the radical responsibility for myself in order to be then able to become this conscious and intuitive parent who had the space and capacity to foster this independence and consciousness and intuitive hits in my own children, and teaching them how to, and showing them, modeling to them how to trust those intuitive hits, how to trust their inner knowing, how to trust themselves and their inner guidance, even when the outside world is telling you, oh, be quiet right now, don't say that, be nice, right? Especially for the girls, oh, this was not nice, this is not nice, you shouldn't be saying this. Give up your voice in order to make somebody else happy. Give up your dignity in order to make somebody else happy. Step aside so somebody else can plow forward. No. But in order for me to be able to do that, I had to peel back my own layers, and I still am peeling back my own layers. It's still the process. It's a journey that I know it will be a lifelong experience. It will be a lifelong journey. Even in my own gene keys, one of the things that is unique to me is that it's not so much about this, we're talking about the mission and what is life's purpose. Mine is not so clearly defined because I am here on a mission, and this whole mission is the journey itself. Dropping in every single present moment, being fully present, being in, in this full awareness, as opposed to jumping back and forth from where is that I'm coming from, depressed over the past choices and anxious over the choices I have yet to make, anxious over the destination where I'm supposed to be going, comparing myself to everything else what's going on every single moment. And in doing so, I'm able to really see and notice still to this day what is still uncomfortable for me to be with, where my highly achieving mind is still trying to compensate for this idle time of doing nothing and trying to keep busy just for the sake of keeping busy. And because I still have this attachment that I am my own results, which is something that has been dissolving with the speed of light, and yet this is still not fully resolved. So it is a beautiful journey, a dance that I have been so grateful to be able to partake in and be able to have this awareness to witness it as it unfolds. So it's not just participating in it physically and emotionally and spiritually with all my being on a cellular level. It's also being able to see it from 1 degree separation, 2 degrees of separation, almost like this out-of-body experience, And I'm like, literally playing the, what are those people? An anthropologist, right? Literally being an anthropologist. And this is something that is a gift that people that I get to work with also give to themselves, and they learn how to do that. And we literally make quantum leaps in time, and we collapse the time. The time certainly doesn't exist anymore on this journey, because it doesn't have to take forever to dissolve all of those and shadow all of those layers. And it doesn't have to take years or months or weeks. It can literally be on a moment's notice. And days when I do wake up in this incredible human experience, when I just don't want to get out of bed, when I feel depleted, when I feel this heaviness, when I feel anxiousness, and I feel fear, and I feel disconnect, I can honor all of those. And I can model to the girls that this is okay. When they have days like this, it is okay. What do you need? How can I support you? Do you just need space to be? Do you need a way to express it? Do you need a way to talk it out, sing it out, dance it out, draw it out? Whatever, right? And I notice with my little one, you know, obviously each kid is so different. My little one in particular is very, you know what comes to mind? Have you ever watched Inside Out, the cartoon, with the anger character, when he has this levers, you know, to go from 0 to 100, and all of a sudden the flames coming out? She is this extremely expressive kid who does not hold back. She shows her emotions on a whole spectrum. And one of the things that was triggering to me for a long time was the tears that would come up for every little single thing. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only mom who says that, you know, if anything triggers me, it's kids whining. But I also had to learn to let her be, and allowing her to have this experience, as opposed to my instinct was always, oh, stop crying. Oh, come on, stop crying, right? As, you know, as opposed to, hey, sure, I hear you. Go ahead, keep on going. Let it, bring it up, you know, keep on going. Yeah, so creating this intentional living, becoming this intentional being, again, it's not so much about, it hasn't been in my experiences, it's not so much about the external strategies and ticking out the boxes anymore. It's not even so much about healing and trying to fix ourselves. It really becomes the game, the dance of, can I see myself as a whole? Can I accept myself for who I am fully? And can I honor myself for who I am? And simply start remembering, who am I in this core? Who am I meant to be? And giving self permission to start shedding those layers, and shedding, breaking out of those patterns and commitments and shackles. And you know what? That is, sometimes it feels like a never-ending task. Sometimes it feels like this incredible weight on our shoulders that's wearing us down, and it feels like the more that you're trying to move and get out of it, it's like a quicksand. The deeper you're being consumed, and the harder it feels that it's becoming. And somebody mentioned the other day, a while ago actually, that yes, it's because it is the breaking of generational patterns. That's why it doesn't come that natural to us, and that's why it feels difficult, but it's the reason why we're being called into this particular time and this particular space. It's because those patterns, those chains, those stories, they end with us, so we don't pass them along. And as we're healing ourselves, we are healing our whole ancestral line. It was such a profound explanation. But one thing with that does come up for me, and that I also want to share with you, is, when it feels that it's difficult for some people, and this is another incredible awareness to have, when we're looking around and we are tempted to play this comparison game, right? Comparing ourselves to others who are around us, whether it's our peers or our mentors or clients or whatever, friends. There is no such thing as comparison, really, because we never know what somebody's journey has been, what they have experienced. There's no such thing as measuring somebody's grief against ours. There's no such thing as measuring somebody's trauma against somebody else's. There's no such thing as measuring somebody's pain against somebody else's pain and experiences and perceptions and perspectives and desires and visions and dreams and all of those things we would so much like to compartmentalize and have this yardstick to measure against. So oftentimes we also forget that while we might be just starting our journey, let's say towards spiritual awakening, somebody might already been 5 chapters in, so to speak. Or when we look at somebody as like, wow, look at this person, they have it all. They have this beautiful home, they have this beautiful family, they have the amazing car, they have, they travel all over the place, they have all these followers and fans, diehard fans online. And we create this perception of themselves without actually knowing what they had to be going through, what their soul contracts have been, what their mission is, what they have been called here to overcome and heal and fulfill in order to have this external life that feels so appealing. And this has often been a case also, like, it's not just the business part, right? Relationships, they come really easy to me. Difficult conversations, parenting, it comes really easy to me. Helping others comes really easy to me. But I still have things that are challenging. My body image is, I don't have a six-pack. Even at the height of my athletic career, I did not have a six-pack. And I struggled with my body image for a long time. And I guess I know that this is certainly something that I'm really cautious about when it comes to speaking to my own kids about their own body and accepting themselves and loving themselves. Another thing that for some time has been really screwing over with my own mind was in terms of business, right? When my clients would be achieving incredible success, I felt like I was just spinning my wheels. It's like, come on, it shouldn't be that damn hard. And I would be so agitated and irritated, agitated, that's the word I was looking for. But then on the other hand, I would look at somebody as like, wow, this person, everything just flows to them. And then they opened up. It's like, we were talking, they said, you're one of the few people that I feel enough connection with, that I can trust you with that, but I suck in relationships. I suck in being expressive. I suck in processing my own emotions. I suck in even allowing my emotions to come up. Something I could never guess looking from the outside. So it all goes back to really reminding ourselves that there is no such thing as comparing our journey and our story and our experience to somebody else's. Just as much as there's no such thing as us taking off the responsibilities and the weight of the experiences our kids are here to learn and to create for themselves. As much as we want to shield them, as much as we want to protect them, as much as we want to course correct them as parents, we have to understand that they are their own wholesome beings who are here to fulfill their own dharma, who are here to learn their own lessons. And by us trying to take it off of their shoulders, we're simply delaying the process. What we can offer is a guidance and help empowering them so they know how to respond, they know how to navigate this journey on their own as they're moving through it. And like I said, I have so much gratitude for being presented and coming across this philosophy years ago when my little ones were still little. Well, they're still little at 8 and 5, but really little. That I could start seeing things from that lens. And I was like, oh, okay. And let me give you a more pragmatic example. We were at a family dinner, extended family, cousins, uncles, aunts. And my little one, she has this stuffy toy that goes everywhere. The stuffy has been to Europe, the stuffy has been to Hawaii, the stuffy has been to Minnesota. I mean, everywhere we've been, the stuffy has been with her. But at the dinner, she had this idea of, you know what, I'm going to give this stuffy to my cousin because I love my cousin so much. And pretty much every adult at the table was like, no, you can't do that because when you're going to go to bed, you will miss the stuff. You're going to feel sad. You're going to, the whole 9 yards of, no, you can't, trying to make the decision for her. And then they were looking at me as like, Mom, why aren't you saying something? I think she was about 5 at the time. I was like, you know what? If she wants to give the stuffy, let her make her own choices. And said, well, she's going to regret it. I'm like, well, you know what? It's going to be a lesson for her. Yes, she might only be 5. She might not be able to see so far ahead in the future. But it's going to be a lesson for her that every choice comes with a consequence. And if it's a consequence of, oh my gosh, she's going to be missing her stuffy then and she will cry herself to sleep, well, maybe there's a lesson for her in there. That she can remember, you know what? I gave this stuffy away because I love my cousin so much and it made me feel so good at the time. And if not, I wasn't at the end, I was not the one making the decision. My daughter decided, you know what, I'm going to keep the stuffy just to be safe. And that was okay. But it was this disconnect between the conventional and unconventional parenting, between the intuitive and conscious parenting and the old paradigm, I would dare to say, of making those choices for our kids. And it goes as far as picking what they should be wearing, picking who they should be playing with or what they should be playing with. I'm not saying here, full disclosure, you're not putting your kid in danger, obviously. You're not letting them to play with the electrical wires or in the middle of the street where they can be struck by a car. Common sense. But there are still ways to help empower them to make their own choices at a very young age. And there's still ways to empower them to then live with those choices and process them as things might not turn around the way that they expected. So they learn not only the accountability, but they learn the whole process of, okay, cause and effect. If I do this, then this is going to happen and this might follow. This is my decision. Now I'm feeling that. What am I going to do the next time? And like I said, this conversation alone, it's so expensive that we could really spend another 5 hours debating or talking about it. And I'm not saying that my way of parenting is ideal, not at all. I'm simply sharing my own truth and I'm simply sharing my own experience. And like I said at the very beginning of the video, if this resonates and if you find something that fits, feel free to use it. And if it doesn't, no offense, because I know you are on your own journey just as much as I am on mine. And just as much as somebody has shared their own journey when they were at it, I was like, oh, this really resonates. Oh, not so much, but I'm going to take this because I find it valuable and I'm going to use it in my own toolbox now. This is the only thing I offer. This is my toolbox. Take the tools that you might need. Take what you like and leave the rest. It's simple as that. Because just as, personal development, business strategies, living our own lives, becoming leaders, there's no one size fits all, because there's so many different, there's so many details, there's so many you know. Then you have there's the cultural background, and there's the ethnicity, and there's you know, so many layers that affect our processes, that affect who we are, how we behave, how we act, how we react. Like I said, there's no, my intention is not to compartmentalize or say wrong from right, or that my way is better than yours, or the other way around. Not at all. All I say was, this is what I had learned, this is what I found it's really working for us, me as a highly awakened, spiritual, conscious person, kids who are awakened, spiritual, conscious people, little people, wholesome beings. And if you find it helpful, and if you find it valuable, that's all that matters. Alrighty, so I'm gonna wrap this up for today. Again, if you have any questions, if this is something that you feel called to be supported in, feel free to send me a message. Let's continue our conversation and see how, what is it you're creating, how I can support you with it. Sending you much love. Talk to you later. Bye.